Greece hasn't always been the peaceful, sunny nation we know today. In 1967, a military junta overthrew the government and in July 1974 staged a coup to assassinate Cyprus's elected leader and impose Greek rule. He survived and escaped, but 4 days later, Turkey decided it was time to protect its citizens and invaded. The United Nations sent in a peacekeeping force to keep the two sides apart, and 50 years later, it's still there. The buffer zone was placed where the fighters stood at the point of ceasefire on August 16, 1974, leading to some odd situations, from barricades in Nicosia to this weird enclave to a 5-kilometre wide chunk where Nicosia Airport used to be. It was the island's main airport, but was heavily bombed in the invasion. It became isolated and abandoned in the UN buffer zone. Then there's the heavily disputed town of Varosha, south of Famagusta. Once the holiday choice of celebrities, its occupants fled when the Turks came into town. Since then, it's been fenced off to everybody except the Turkish military. So nearly 50 years after being closed off to the public, what does it look like today? Okay, so we've had a bit of fun filming this. Famagusta is open to tourists and we came through it on one of the many daily coach trips.
But why a ghost town like Varosha still exists in Europe in 2023, that's complicated.
Due to its location, Cyprus has been invaded and colonised repeatedly, and has long been a melting pot of cultures and religions. First off, it was the Greeks, followed by the Phoenicians, Assyrians, Egyptians, and Persians. In 332 BC, this devilishly handsome chap, Alexander the Great, picked it up on his way to conquer Persia. Then it was Egypt's second turn until the Romans turned up. When the Roman Empire divided, it landed in the Byzantium half. In 1191 it became British when Richard the Lionheart accidentally collected it on his way to the Crusades. He then gave it to his mate, a Frenchman named Guy de Lusignan. Next up, the Venetians. Then the Ottoman Turks invaded and stayed a while before handing it to us in exchange for protecting them from Russia. During World War I, we offered Cyprus to Greece if they fulfilled their treaty obligation to Serbia, who had been invaded by Bulgaria. Greece refused, throwing Serbia under the bus. In 1923, Turkey surrendered all rights to Cyprus and it became a crown colony. At this point, Cyprus was about 80% Greek and 20% Turkish. Greek Cypriots assumed the UK would hand the island to Greece, and Turkish Cypriots wanted a homeland and for Cyprus to be independent from both Greece and Turkey. When none of this happened, independence reared its head, and after a lot of bloodshed, Cyprus became independent from the UK on 16th of August 1960. However, independence didn't bring peace, and by 1963 the UN had put in a peacekeeping force. On July 15, 1974, the ruling Greek military junta staged a coup to kill Cyprus's elected leader and take the island. A few days later, Turkey stepped in to protect its citizens. Varosha Ghost Town exists because UN Resolution 550 from 1984 states that any attempt to settle any part of Varosha by people other than its original inhabitants is inadmissible, and called for the area to be administered by the UN. The original inhabitants don't want to go back. Turkey won't allow the UN to administer it, but won't defy the UN either, so it's been barricaded and abandoned for the last 50-odd years, until October 2021, when Turkey started nibbling away at opening up small parts of it in defiance of the UN. Politically, it's still a hot potato, but if you're in Cyprus, I definitely recommend going on a tour that takes in Varosha. Thanks for watching, and if you like this film, please click subscribe, and we'll see you next time.